Hello all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll try to explain how to create expense policy schedules. As I'd already mentioned in my previous videos of how to create expense report templates. So these expense policy schedules are associated with the expense items mentioned under expense report template. So you can basically create different company policy schedules for different expense categories like your airfare, accommodation, meals, etc. And then associate these policy schedules with your expense report template so that whenever a user and creates an expense report using this expense report template, he'll get a kind of a warnings for the policy violation. So just to take a simple example, like if you create a policy schedule that an employee cannot enter uh, an expense item under meals category for a particular date for more than say $50, then system throws a kind of a warning policy violation message. Remember, the system will not stop person from submitting of the expense report. It will only just throw a warning message saying that the user has actually violated the company policy. He need to review the expense report once again, make the changes, and then resubmit the expense report. Now, in today's video, I'll try to create a simple policy schedule for the meals category, and then I'll associate that policy schedule to expense report template, and then show you how system throws the warning policy violation if I try to create an expense report for an amount greater than whatever is mentioned in my policy schedule. Okay, well, let's get into the system. So first I need to switch to your iExpenses setup and administration responsibility so that I can create the policy schedule. Internet expenses setup. It will open a HTML page. So as you can see here under policy, you have different categories under which you can create your policy schedule. So I'll just choose the meals category. There are already different policy schedules created by different users, this being a testing environment. Now I'll try to create a fresh new policy schedule. Give a name, maybe I'll just say test demo meals schedule. Maybe I'll give the description the same name. Started, I want the this policy schedule to be effective from say today. I'll just mention as 24th of May 2019, and I can specify the reimbursement currency, whether this is applicable for a specific single reimbursement currency or multiple reimbursement currency. I'll just use the single reimbursement currency, and in the next screen I'll specify my reimbursement currency, that is the currency in which your expense report will be entered, and for that currency this particular policy schedule will be effective. And here you have different optional rules, whether you want to specify daily rules or whether daily limits, or whether you want to specify limits based on the roles or based on the locations or tolerance limits. So if I based on the options, whatever I select here, when I click on next, the next the fields or the options which will be made available to us in the next screen are dependent on the options whatever I select here. So let us assume I select all the four and click on next. So here you can see you have options related to locations, tolerance limits, daily limits, and the roles, etc. So go back, and maybe I'll just select only, maybe say first one, daily limits allow the distinction between individual meals and daily summation. So using this particular rule, I'll be specifying the daily meal limit of a user. So click on next. Specify the reimbursement currency, which is USD. That is the currency in which your expense report will be entered. And then the individual daily limit I want to specify. So this is effective from today. So click on details, specify your per meal limit, define or modify individual amount fields on this page. So per meal limit, I'll just mention say $75. Click on apply and then click on activate. Okay, my test demo meal schedule is now fully active. If I want to update certain things again, I can click on update journal and then make the changes to these rules. Or if I want to update the per meal limit, you can click on update deals. Update and click on details, and then here I can update per meal limit. So yeah, click on apply. Okay, so now this completes the creation of the policy schedule. Now I need to associate this policy schedule to an expense item and an expense report, and then expense report template. And then when I try to create an expense report using that particular expense report template, we can see how system throws the violation messages. Okay, now I'll get into expense report template. I'll try to create a new expense report template, and I'll try to associate this expense policy schedule, whatever I have created here. So navigate to payables, vision operations, payables, vision operations, setup, invoice, expense report templates. I'll not get into the details of all the fields which are mentioned in this expense report template because there is already a separate video which I had created on explaining the different fields, whatever is mentioned under expense report template. So I'll be focusing only on the policy schedule part. Okay, so let me create a new expense report template. I'll just give a name as a test demo expense report. Click on enable for internet expenses so that this particular template will be available in the iExpenses. So expense item name would be meals expense, and expense category is meals. So only when I select the expense category of meals, I should be able to select the policy schedule whatever I have created. So this is my test demo meal schedule. And then enter the default GL account. And then prompt would be meals expense. And justification required only with violation. If there is a policy violation, then user needs to specify the justification when he is creating the or when he is submitting the expense report. So save this. This is only just for the justification field. But now when I try to create an expense report using this expense report template, and under this expense item of meals expense, as there is a policy schedule of test demo meal schedule under this particular expense item, if I try to create an expense report using this expense report template, and if I enter an amount more than $75, then I should get a warning message. If I enter an amount less than $75, I should not be getting any warning message. Now let's see that. Okay, now navigate to your iExpenses responsibility and try to create a new expense report. Create expense report. Select my expense report template of test. Here is our template. Let us double check. Payables, vision operations. This is our template. Let me double check. Test demo expense report template enable for internet expenses. Yeah. How come this is not coming up in the drop down? Active. Close this. Renavigate to high expenses. Sometimes it takes a while. Ideally, it should not. But anyways, yeah. See, test demo expense report template, and the purpose is trip to Florida for conference. The context. Next. Date is today's date, 24th. Receipt amount. Okay. I'll enter an amount more than $75. So maybe I'll just enter say $80. And expense type, there is only one expense, which is meals expenses. And click on details. Enter number of attendees, 1, attendee's name, Arvind. And yeah, click on return. You have entered an invalid data, or you have not completed all the required field. Do you want to continue? Just say no. Okay. The first thing is justification is required, because if you remember, like when we have created this expense report template, we have mentioned justification is required in the case of violation. Yes, this is a scenario wherein it is a policy violation. As it is a policy violation, you need to specify the justification as to why you have incurred $80 when your policy amount is your company policy amount is only $75. So you can mention that this is an exception as this amount is for 2 persons. So this is basically a justification as to why it is $80 even though your policy amount is $75. Click on return. Okay, now you see a warning message. So justification you have entered, which is fine, but still now you can see a warning message. The expense amount exceeds that allowable limit. So again, it's just a warning message which is saying that even though you have entered a justification, but as per the company policy, you are allowed to use only you are allowed to enter only $75, but you have entered an $80. So it is actually throwing a warning message. So you can just ignore the warning message and click on return. Come back to this particular screen. Click on next. Okay. Again, it says that this expense report contains policy violations. Use the warnings icons to review. If necessary, return to the previous page to update an expense line or to include a reason for violation in the justification. It's only just a warning. It will not stop you from submitting of the expense report. So you can ignore the warning because you have entered the justification in this example, and then you can click on the submit button. So again, it says throw a message here. Again, this expense report number contains policy violation. It has been submitted to your manager for approval. Okay. So now in this case, what will happen is your manager will review that justification, whatever you have entered. And again, after your manager approve, it goes to your accounts payable department. Again, accounts payable department will also review this justification, whatever you have entered, because there is a policy violation. So this is how you can create an expense report wherein you can see these warning messages if user enters an expense amount more than your policy amount, but system will not stop the user from submitting of the expense report. It will only throw a warning message. So thank you. Thanks for watching my video on expense report. Thank you.